What is up, guys? Zaid here, and today I'm going to be talking about this spell card, Piri Reis Map, and all the cards that I think might be viable search targets for it. So to start, for those of you that don't know what this card does, it's a normal spell card that says, at the start of your main phase 1, add a monster with 0 attack from your deck to your hand, and if you do, have your life points. Also, you cannot activate the effects of cards with the added monster's name until the end of the next turn after this card resolves, or until you normal summon a monster with that name. So basically, this card allows you to search a normal summon, because you're not going to get to use the effect either on your turn or the opponent's turn if the monster isn't normal summoned. So you couldn't search something like Ash Blossom because you're not going to be able to use it on your opponent's turn. And you couldn't add something that would need to be special summoned, like I can't even think of an example off the top of my head, but you can't add something that would need to be special in order to gain value because you can't special summon again. So you're basically going to want to play this card in decks that have normal summon starters that have 0 attack. And I've got a list of 37 different possible cards that this could be good in. And I'm going to kind of just go through them real quick, let you know why I think they would be good, and let me know your thoughts on them. The first one I have is I don't know how to pronounce this, Animadorned Archosaur. This card is played in the Dinosaur deck, and the Dinosaur deck hasn't been seeing play since Miscellaneousaurus got hit. But whenever we do get this card, it could help it out, because then they have more ways to search it. They already have Fossil Dig, but then they would have this too. This card on normal or special destroys a dinosaur in your hand, and then you can add a reptile, sea serpent, or winged beast with the same original level as the destroyed monster, or an evolution pill spell from your deck. And so this card is an effect in the Dinosaur deck that'll trigger on normal summon, so it can be added off Piri and actually be getting you decent value. The next one I think is probably the most meta relevant thing, is that it can search both Zodiac Rapier and Tri-Brigade Nerval. This would act as a 4th, 5th, and 6th tanky in the sense that it is a search card that can either gain you access to the Zodiac engine or to the Tri-Brigade engine. And so that, I feel as if it would help the consistency in a deck like that a lot. The next one, which also could be meta relevant, is Prank Kids Fansies. That's just, you already play 15 Prank Kids names, but this card would allow you to play 18. Which in a deck like the Prank Kids that plays 3 of the Pandemonium and 3 Polymerization, it could be useful to have an additional 3 names to like almost ensure you're going to play the game. The DDD archetype is one that benefits pretty well from this card too, being able to search both Savant Kepler and the Savant Corpinicus. Kepler is a Rhoda, not a Rhoda, but it adds one of the continuous spells, I believe, on its normal summon. Target a other DD card you control, return to the hand. That one doesn't matter that much, but add a Dark Contract from your deck to your hand. That's the more relevant of the effect, because the Dark Contract adds a monster, and there's also a Dark Contract that's a Miracle Fusion, I believe. So Kepler kind of just gets you access to your entire deck. And then there is Copernicus, who is a Foolish Burial on normal or special. Send a DD or Dark Contract card from your deck to the graveyard. So having a card like Piri Reis to search that in the archetype could be very useful. And if you already drew like a Kepler, or you already have access to Kepler or Copernicus, you just get the other one. Next, there is Glow Up Bloom. This might not be that relevant because you don't really want to normal summon this card, but it is a 0/0 that has an effect. It doesn't have an effect on normal summon, but you can normal summon it, make a Link Karibo or an Almirage, and then trigger its effect to banish to special summon a zombie or search a zombie, depending on if you have Zombie World or not. Next, there's 2 different Yang Zings that could be searched. 2 that matter the most. I think there's a lot of Yang Zings with 0 attack, but the most important one is Jiaotu, Darkness of the Yang Zing. And the Yang Zing deck doesn't really matter in the sense that it doesn't see a lot of play right now, but this card, they are all worms. And if we hypothetically had access to 6 Jiaotu, I could see a case where maybe you splash this with the new Zhang Qian archetype coming out, because those cards benefit from having worms in grave, and this discards 2 Yang Zings to special 2, so you would get some crazy synchro plays going. You also could make the level 8 that searches the level 8 Zhang Qian. I believe he's generic. Let me double check. Yeah, tuner plus non-tuner worms. So you can make that with the Yang Zing Jiaotu summons, because you can summon the level 6 and then anything else you want. Synchro for an 8, grabbing or summoning this guy out, and then instantly search a Zhang Qian card. and get that engine started as well. So there could be a case to mesh the two decks together, and that case would be strengthened by a card like this existing so that you could play 6 of the best starter in that archetype. Next we have Cosmo Tin Can, which in the Cosmo deck, this card is the best normal summon for going first. If you're going second, you'd rather summon a Farm Girl so you can hit over something, get the effect, and then search. But in a going first variant of the deck, or just when you're going first, you want to have access to Tin Can, who lets you reveal 3 Cosmos with different names from your deck. Your opponent picks one randomly to add to your hand, the others go to grave. And this card's really insane because like it's a +1 guaranteed, and it also loads your graveyard for cards like Back to the Front, Call the Haunted. Like the deck has seen play in. Those cards have seen play in the deck before, and if you were able to maximize out on Piri Reis and also play 3 Tin Can and also play the E-Telly, you're just almost guaranteed to have access to this card going first in that deck. Next, there's Magician Souls. This one isn't that relevant because you have to normal summon it. You can't special summon it. But just the fact that you could grab it and then get its effect, you could normal it, get its effect to send 2, draw 2. That could come up one day. There's the Weather Painter Snow, which I believe this is like the best Weather Painter. When this card's normal summon, place a weather spell trap from your deck face up. Yeah, I believe this is the good one, like the best one in the archetype. And so this archetype isn't really meta relevant, but if it had 6 copies of its starter, maybe it would be a little better. Next, we've got Royal Magical Library. This card could be very cool in a Pendulum variant or just like deep draw decks. It's seen play in both of those types of decks before. I could see a world where Triff Gaming makes a video about Royal Magical Library in the Pendulum deck with the inclusion of Piri Reis Map, because I don't think I have it on here, but it also searches Harmonizing, which I guess doesn't really matter because you can't activate the effects of the card. But that's probably why I don't have it on here. But there are just like other cards this could also technically grab. Like it could grab in a Pendulum deck either the Royal Magical, or it could grab Harmonizing as a high scale. Like you don't even... there's probably low scales with 0 attack also. That is something worth looking at. Let's look real quick. Monster, Pendulum, attack, 0, search. There we go. So there definitely are a lot of Pendulums with 0 attack. This is another cool one actually. Rare Metal Foes Bismugear doesn't have a normal summon effect, but you can add it, normal summon it, and then pop it with another Metal Foe to trigger his effect. So we're going to add this to the list. That's another really cool card. There's a low scale. Gate 0 is a cool low scale it could search. Oh, it also can search the Zephyr Nui. So yeah, I could see a world where the Pendulum deck would play it to search out Royal Magical, summon, and start going off. And then if they already open the Royal Magical, you can use it to just add a high or a low scale to just fix your scales or whatever. Because you would not be able to use the effect of the card you add, but the fact that you could scale it makes it not a complete dead card. And like I just said, Bismugear could be cool. Normal summon it, pop it with a other Metal Foe card. Get the set one, get the end phase Bismugear effect. Oh, it's not even on... Yeah, it is on end phase search. Numeron Wall is a really cool one. This card you typically don't normal summon because you can send this card from your hand or field to the grave, activate network directly from your deck. But the fact that it says hand or field lets you play Piri Reis almost as a terraforming to grab this card, then tribute it, get the field spell. And so you could play 1 terraforming, 3 Piri Reis, 3 Numeron Wall, and then 3 of the field spell itself. And that's like, what, 3, 6, 9, 11 copies of the card, something like that. And then Nightmare Corruptor Ibli is pretty cool. This card hasn't seen play in a while. When it's normal, you target a link in your grave, special it so that the arrows point to Ibli. And then also when this card's linked with, you give it to your opponent, and the controller of this card cannot special summon except link summon. There's not a lot of decks that would make good use of this, but I purposely set it here next to Sage with Eyes of Blue and Maiden with Eyes of Blue so that I could point out there is a rogue strategy that would love it a lot. There's a variant of Blue Eyes that summons the ritual monster, Chaos Max. He's 4,000 and does double piercing. And so in that deck, you could use a card like Piri Reis to either grab Sage with Eyes of Blue if your engine's not going, summon Sage, get a search, or you can grab Ibli, summon Ibli, link it away, summon whatever you're going to summon with it, and then give them the Ibli in defense position so they have a 0 defense monster for you to double pierce over for 8,000. And then you could also in that deck add a Maiden. Maiden kind of sucks nowadays. Been a little power crept since it first came out, but it's also an option. Next, shout out Hayden on this one. If you guys haven't seen it yet, I posted a deck list of my buddy Hayden getting, I think, first place. It was either first or second place, but he got first the week before at our locals playing a fish deck. Just like as a rank 4 spam for Bahamut Shark summoning out toads. And he played 2 Botanical Princess and 1 for 1. And so that deck could also play Piri Reis if it wanted to in order to search additional copies of Princess. I thought that was pretty interesting. This card, if you don't know what it is a Lone Fire for fish-type monsters. Next, we have 2 targets for the Dragon Link deck, Rocket Synchron and also DMZ Dragon. I don't think builds are currently playing DMZ Dragon, but if we lived in a world where there's Piri Reis as an option, they might. This card allows you to target a dragon in your graveyard and equip this monster with it, which lets you summon the level 2 Dragoonity that says if it's an equipped spell, you could special it. And then that just gives you an additional monster on the board. But then you could also get Rocket Synchron, who on normal summon summons a 5 or higher dark from your grave. And if you've been watching my channel, you know that I really like the Infernity deck. And there's 2 different Infernity targets, Infernity Mirage and Infernity Necromancer. I don't know if the deck would actually consider a card like Piri Reis because you have to normal summon it. And the deck currently plays cards like Tour Guide that you want to normal summon. The cards you search off this aren't optimal normal summons, but it's always an option to consider. You've got Phantom of Chaos. This card is not really relevant right now, but we've seen this card in the past. It typically is used to cheat out cards that are otherwise very hard to get on board. An example would be Sky Scourge Neuralis, I believe it's pronounced, which lets you, I think you like pay 1,000 life points and send all cards on both players' hands and fields to the graveyard, and then you draw 1 card. And so a card like Phantom of Chaos being searchable means that you could optimize a deck around sending very powerful effect monsters with really hard summoning conditions to the graveyard, and then just normal summon this and utilize those hard effects. But it gives you 6 copies of this card instead of the normal 3, which makes it so your deck can more rely on doing that. Next, we got Backjack. Again, he's not the most powerful normal summon, but you can make him into a Link Karibo and then trigger his effect to stack. Then there's a Chaos Necromancer. This card is not really a meta-relevant card either, but this card lets you... It gains 300 for every monster in the grave, and so there have been decks in the past that utilize this by summoning it and being a very large monster. And so those decks having access to 6 of it could make them more viable. Probably not meta-relevant like Tier 1, Tier 2, but they could be more viable fun decks. Thoughtscaper is a really cool card. This card, if you're playing a deck that plays the Piri Reis already, this could just be a neat inclusion because it's a 1-card link too. If this card's sent to the graveyard, special it. If this card's banished, special it. You can only use 1 effect per turn. So if you were to just grab him, normal him, Link Karibo, Thoughtscaper effect, come back out, make a Link 2, could be cool in a deck that is already running the card and wants to add extra utility. But I can't think of a deck that like would solely rely on adding a Thoughtscaper. The farther down we go, the less relevant these cards are to the meta, by the way, if you haven't caught that already. We got FA Auto Navigator. This card, let me read it, actually. I haven't read this card in a while. If this card's normal or special, add a FA field spell from your deck to your hand. So this acts as a +2 or a +1 in this deck. You activate it, grab Auto Nav, summon Auto Nav, get a field spell. So it's going to get you your Nav, which is a monster tuner on board, and it's also going to get you your field spell, which should get your plays started. And then for the Galaxy deck, they have a searcher for Galaxy Wizard, who is a searcher for any Galaxy card in the deck. So this card, by extension, says search any Galaxy card by giving up your normal summon. Which could be cool in other strategies. Like, any light deck could use this to search Wizard, summon Wizard, tribute Wizard to add Galaxy Soldier, and then use it to extend into a Cyber Dragon Infinity. Next, we've got Golden Hair, the newest Plunder Patrol. This card, I think there's other Plunder Patrols with 0 attack also, so the deck could just utilize this card. This card, if it's sent to the graveyard, you can discard to special it. So you can just normal summon him, link him away for an Almirage or something, and then bring him back out. I don't know how practical that is. I haven't played the Plunder Patrol deck. I just saw the card had 0 attack and figured it would be worth mentioning, and you guys might know a way to utilize it. Next, we got Goki Octo Stretch. Goki already has a lot of names and a lot of ways to search them, but having another one, I guess, never hurts, especially if they were able to play one of these other cards. But I don't really think they would. They could maybe play Ibli, and so you can have like access to either getting Ibli or Octo Stretch. Next, we got Ojama Red. This, I think, is one of the best Ojama cards, which, I mean, the standard, the bar's not that high. They're all vanillas, but if you're that rogue player playing Ojama, shout out Dakota, you probably would like play Piri Reis to search them out. Why not? Then Sunseed Twin. I don't know much about this archetype either, but reading this card, it seems like it's an important part of it. Now, this card's normal or special. You can target a level 4 or lower plant normal in your grave, special summon it, banish this card in your graveyard and a link monster you control. If you have 2 or more plant links with the same name as each other in your graveyard, special one of them. So this card seems cool in its archetype, not too great overall, but not too great archetype. Having a searcher could make it better. Next, there's Super Quantal Fairy Elfin. This is, I believe, also the best Super Quantal card. It allows you to choose through. It's kind of like exactly like Tin Can, except it tributes. You tribute it, reveal 3 Super Quantals. Your opponent randomly adds 1 to your hand. The other 2 go to grave. So it gets your Quantal engine started. And again, this deck's not very meta relevant, but having a searcher for its best card could make it better. Next, these I think would be not really. The card could be very beneficial in the deck itself if you were playing a Time Lord deck, but I think what these cards mainly do is give the decks that are already going to be playing a Piri Reis Map. For example, a meta deck that would be playing it, like Dinosaur. If they're side decking to go against a back row deck, they could side deck either Time Maiden or Zaphion, well, probably a combination of the two, or just Zaphion, so that when they're going second, they look at their 6-card hand. Their opponent has a huge amount of back row. They just go activate Piri Reis, which would normally add them their Dinosaur, and instead they add Zaphion, summon it, clear the back row, and then proceed to play the game in the main phase 2. So I think, and there's also a lot of other Time Lords with decent effects that are worth looking into if your deck is already going to play a Piri Reis. It gives you a lot of side deck utility in the sense that I could put in 1 Zaphion and I have 4 in my deck, only having to side 1 card out of my deck and only having to draw the Zaphion. It's only a 1-of, so I only will draw it like very seldom, but also I'll draw it a lot. So if I want it, I get it. If I don't want it, I probably won't see it. And the Time Lords on the next standby phase, I believe, shuffle themselves back in the deck. So then throughout the duel, your Piri Reis can continue to get them if it's not a blowout when it resolves. And then lastly, we've got the Blackstone of Legend and then Thunder Dragon Matrix. These both are very decent cards. Blackstone of Legend is a lot better, honestly. Just the archetype is a lot worse. You tribute it to special a level 7 or lower Red Eyes monster from your deck. And if this card's in your graveyard, target a level 7 or lower Red Eyes monster in your graveyard. Shuffle that in the deck and add this card to the hand. It's kind of like Alistair in the sense that once you see it, it keeps coming back and providing you value. Because you summon it, tribute it, get a monster, and then when that monster dies, you can shuffle that monster back, add the card back to your hand, and you just continue to go. So I haven't played Red Eyes, but I'm assuming that seeing this card matters for the deck, and that if you're able to play 3 additional copies, it could be beneficial to you. And then Thunder Dragon Matrix isn't as good because there's better normal summons in the deck, and I don't really see a case where they're playing any of these other cards that are worth searching. But I just thought it would be an honorable mention to be able to search Thunder Dragon Matrix, normal summon it, make a link with it or something, and then get its effect to search another copy. If there's any cards I missed that have 0 attack and are relevant to search, please let me know in the comments. And let me know what you think about these cards, and if you think the Piri Reis card will actually matter in the meta at all, or if it'll just kind of be like support for shitty rogue strategies. And if it is just support for shitty rogue strategies, are you going to be playing any of those strategies? So thank you for watching. Like and subscribe, all that jazz. Take it easy.